Hi, today is a video showing the painting process of an image that I feel represents positivity and resilience. When my mother was very sick, there was a song by Lainey Wilson that reminded me of her fierce spirit. A line in the song really captured her. I push like a daisy through old sidewalk cracks. I started out with a sketch in my physical sketchbook. I then transferred it into Adobe Fresco and set the opacity down so I could start doing a sketch layer in Adobe Fresco. Once I do that, I set the opacity down again and I start inking it in with vector layers. If you don't already know, vector lines in Adobe Fresco allow you to take an image and resize it without any loss whatsoever in the image quality. I want to show the daisy bursting out of the pavement, and I want it to seem that it's bursting out so incredibly hard and with such ferocity that it's actually broken out chunks of the pavement. The daisy itself is going to sit in the very center of the image, with a little mound of dirt that it's growing from. The rest of the image is going to be the pavement, all broken and splintered, with little spidery cracks and very large chunks missing. We're also going to demonstrate the rocky ground by having a few little pebbles that are sitting on the surface. So what I'm doing right now is I'm doing the flat ink, or creating the flat colors. That means that this is the base color without any highlights or shadows added to it. Shadows and highlights give you that three-dimensional feel. So without them, the image appears very flat. Therefore, this is the flat color. Now you see that I'm bringing in the flats now for the daisy itself. And I'm going to play around a little bit with how I actually want that to look. Do I want any bite in the center? How do I want the center to actually look there? And then I get distracted and I go back to creating more cracks because I have ADHD and this is just how I roll. Now's the part of the process where I go through and I add all the highlights and the shadows to the image. So I'm going to go ahead and clean this up a little bit, and I start to add white lines around the top of each of the cracks that we have here. I'm also going to bring in some light on the petals and add some darker green at the base of the daisy and kind of bounce around a little bit, trying to figure out where the shadows are going to fall, where different highlights are going to land, and I experiment a little bit with the daisy here to see if I want to kind of put any like little sketch lines at the base of each petal, or if I just want to leave it alone. I decided I just want to kind of leave it as it is. I will add a little bit of shadow and highlight though to the petals. You can see at the bottom of the petals that it's a little bit darker around the edges. As we go through now, I'm going to put some extra light at the top of each of the cracks and a little bit of light on the dirt so it looks like the flower is casting a shadow. Now I want the word unstoppable to appear behind the daisy. Fresco doesn't have a way to make text go on a circle, so I attempted to liquefy to see where I should place the letters. And well, it was a hilarious fail, as you can see. I went to Clip Studio to do the text and brought back the image of the text. Because the image from Clip Studio comes back as a raster image, I'm going ahead and tracing all of the letters here as vector. Now you'll notice that I leave the P and the B off while I'm doing all of this. This is because I'm going to cheat. This is one thing you can do a lot when you're hand lettering. Although this is not as hand lettered as I normally would like to do. Once the word is done, I take another copy of it, I make the copy darker, and I off-center it just slightly. Then I can go through and connect all the corners to make the text look connected and as a proper 3D. At this point, I don't like the way the image is sitting, so I adjust it. Looking at it again then, I see the right side seems unbalanced and unfinished, so I remove a big chunk on the right, add a few more pebbles, and some smaller cracks. And now the image is done. I go over to fourth wall, and I make a sticker that I'm going to go ahead and send to a loved one. As always, thank you for watching. If you have a struggle going on, remember you're not alone. I wish you courage in your journey. Remember to be kind to yourself. I'll see you next time.